Good morning, everybody, and welcome to a workshop session of the Sonoma County CareerFest. This is the session titled Your Future Starts Now, Social Justice and Resume Building. My name is Jess Hazelwood, and I'm a college and career counselor at Rancho Cotati High School in Rohnert Park. And here helping behind the scenes today is Jordan Brown, who is a college and career advisor at Annalee High School. And we are so delighted to welcome today Rima Makaryan, the founder and executive director of Monarch Project based here in Sonoma County, who is here to talk to you about how she got started and how she's channeled some of her creative abilities and her social justice leanings into this project, and how maybe you can do that as well. So without further ado, I'm going to pass this over to Rima. Quick note to students, our chat is disabled for students, but you are welcome to use Q&A. If you have questions during the presentation, during the workshop, feel free to add them, and we will try to have time at the end to answer some of the questions. We will also make sure to post the attendance form towards the end of the session. If you do need to fill it out to get credit for a course, look for that to show up in the chat towards the end of our session. And thank you so much, Rima, for being here with us today.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to talk to you guys today about how I got started as an activist, as an artist, and how this has taken kind of a more professional turn. And at any point when you guys have questions, I'm going to try to answer your questions as you pose them. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so one of the biggest takeaways that I hope you guys will, get from this presentation is that you are not too young. Being in high school is definitely a great time to begin whatever career aspirations you have or any goals in social justice. So you have all kinds of resources available to you, especially as a young person. So this presentation is going to be all about kind of how you can do all of those things and how I in particular did it. So as we're starting, I want you guys to think about what your professional goals are, kind of what social justice related aspirations you might have, what issues you care about, and just keep them in the back of your mind as we're going through this. You can follow these icons as I'm presenting. We're going to follow the life cycle of a butterfly because, this is the Monarch Project. So this is a kind of overview of where we are right now as an organization. And I'm going to take you through kind of how we got there, and hopefully you guys can use the takeaways and the lessons that I've learned doing this project to apply it to your own goals and aspirations. So I want to start with myself a little bit. So I went to Montgomery High School, and at the time I just kind of had this vague idea that I wanted to do something about changing the world, but I didn't really know where to start. I tried a million different things, and eventually I settled on, one of my passions, which was immigration. And I chose that particularly because it related to my own story as an immigrant. I came from Armenia about 11 years ago now, when I was 8 years old. And so when issues relating to immigration, came up, they were particularly important to me. So I decided to follow kind of what I was most passionate about. And that's how the Monarch Project was really born. So I started by kind of joining all of these organizations, everyone that I could find, which meant I was a very overworked high schooler, but it also meant that I met a lot of really interesting people. This picture on the bottom left is from the Sonoma County Junior Commission on Human Rights. And it's just the work that I did with them, the two posters that follow it. And, we just began with experimentation. So what happens is when you first start out, even if you have a general passion, you still need to spend some time figuring out exactly what you want to do with that passion, which direction are you going to take it. And so I spent at least a year kind of just trying a bunch of different things, different mediums, different forms of activism, until I really found what I was, the best at, what was going to work best for my own goals. And by that time, I had built a pretty strong network and a foundation of allies and people who I knew were going to have my back and they were going to help me take my project to the next level. So this is where it was born. A couple of posters, kind of starting to work with the visual to reach people. You know, I did some bake sales, raised money, and then this was my first kind of mural to try to see, you know, what I could do with artwork and see, you know, where that would take me. And so at this first phase, no one really knows about, you know, any of the pieces that I have here. They're just kind of for my own development, and they helped me kind of figure myself out as I was figuring out how I can, you know, make up something professional or something, you know, really impactful out of this. So after I realized that art was kind of my thing, and you can think about, you know, what that thing might be after you've done some experimentation, then it's time to focus in. So a really important thing is to find your niche and finding your space. The more specific you are about what you want to do, the more effective you'll be. So if you pick something that's very, very broad, it's going to be hard to do something with it because there's going to be so much overlap with other people and you're not going to be offering anything unique. So what you want to do is you want to find what you're best at and make it as specific as possible and work very closely in that direction, while of course keeping kind of a more global and broad mindset, but having your work be super focused. So for me, this was using art as, you know, a tool for activism. So to spread positive images, to touch people through art. Because during my, you know, experimentation run, which we talked about earlier, I realized that, you know, presentations and facts don't always connect best. And so the visual did a better job of that. So it's like, okay, you know, I have the skill as an artist. I've been doing art for my entire life. I'm kind of good at this. And now I have this whole network of people that I can communicate with, artists and activists. And so we dove in, and this was kind of the bigger mural project that people started to notice. And then, you know, suddenly you have the press kind of paying attention to what you're doing. And I'll talk more about that later. So this was that kind of turning point where you take experimentation and turn it into something a little more real. So through this one mural, you know, I had my initial network, but what I did was I grew it. So when you have something as public as the Monarch project, something as public as a mural, you're suddenly meeting all kinds of organizations, all kinds of people. You're bringing in people from different schools. And especially as a high schooler, someone who's younger, you want to think about the huge network of people that you have access to. You have this whole administration that's probably there to support you, and you can find ways to tap into their resources. So for me, I tapped into my school resources. I was in a couple of different clubs, so I invited those people to come and paint with me. The people on the bottom left are from Maria Carrillo. This is a local kind of women's rights activist group with a little dog, very cute. I had artist friends from arts organizations, so all of these people kind of came together. So I built using my past connections to build new ones. And that's going to be a general theme for anything that you want to do related to social justice or not. It's going to be really important to have a network of professionals in all kinds of different areas, and you're going to bring all of them together to help, best propel your project forward. So after this, what was really important is being consistent. It's easy to have kind of like a one and done project, a one-hit wonder, but you really want to maintain a presence if you want to turn this project into something meaningful and impactful. And what that means is you have to be sustainable in what you're doing. So you can't constantly be trying to do really big major projects, but what you can do is you can kind of keep yourself in the public eye doing smaller things. So what I did is I installed smaller monarch butterflies all across, Sonoma County. The one on the left is in Petaluma. We have some there's a coffee shop called Brew. That's where that middle butterfly is. And the one on the very bottom right corner is a little butterfly in downtown Santa Rosa. And so this is kind of a phase where you have your initial breakthrough, but you have to keep going and being consistent, even if you don't constantly get the same kind of attention that you might in the very beginning. And this is where it's the easiest to kind of slack off and to lose hope or just to kind of give up. But you got to push through that and kind of keep going and being consistent. Okay. So, after this period, we're trying to find more ways to reach out to people. How can we expand this? How can we take this to the next level? And you always want to be thinking about that. It's kind of going to be a pattern of, slowing down, speeding up, slowing down, speeding up, and you're going to grow that way. And so what that meant is I suddenly had to do a lot more than be an artist. I had to be my own manager, my marketer, my photographer, all of those things. And so you'll learn that you have to tap into all of the skill sets that you have, and you have to gain new ones. So this picture on the bottom left is me trying to do a butterfly tutorial, and you can see how wonderful and nifty that little setup is. I have like a little Kleenex thing there holding my, selfie stick over the butterfly so I could, do an Instagram and a Facebook Live. And so it just means using all your resources in a very kind of smart and nifty way. And then, of course, continuing and doing the work that you're doing. So being your own, if you don't do your own presentations, you have to make those, you have to run your own social media. And that's something that I really want to emphasize, especially for you guys. It's an amazing tool, no matter what kind of project you're doing, related to social justice or not. Having a good, strong social media presence is going to be really important. Even if you don't have a lot of followers to start with, you want to keep that consistent and keep staying in the public eye, because what you have is an automatic website where people can see all your work. And then using resources like Canva and other things like that. So, which is kind of a digital art graphic design tool that you can use. And so it just means wearing all the hats and being innovative before you can find people who can fill those roles in, because when you're starting out, you're basically your entire team. Okay, so after, I guess, 2 years of, or a year of doing this, you want to start thinking about how you can make this sustainable. And a lot of times that's going to mean you need to make money. And so you're going to build a customer base, you're going to become economically independent. And so for me, that meant selling stickers, selling t-shirts, selling prints, all of those little things. And wearing another hat. So you're suddenly, a business owner and you're running all of that. So being economically independent for whatever career, whatever you want to do, is going to be super important, because it allows you to make your own decisions about what you want to do with your organization or your business. And it's also a great way to continue and, spread your influence in your own community and make a bigger impact. Okay. So, after I've done this project, I've made a mural, I put these butterflies up. Suddenly what happens is more people are going to reach out to you for help. And it's going to be your turn to kind of help pass on and teach other people to do what you're doing. So this picture on the very left, that's an organization called Scape, which I helped start with a bunch of other really wonderful women. And we did more murals around Sonoma County during the George Floyd protests. And so suddenly the skills that you have gained during this period where you've kind of have to teach everything yourself, you're going to pass those on to other people and continue to spread your impact. The one on the middle, that is a project with Sonoma State University. And so we helped them kind of realize their own mural project. And then the one on the very right, that is at Roseland, in kind of where the old dollar store used to be. It's by like a food park. And here we kind of worked with the community over there to kind of make their vision come true. And throughout this entire time, you can see how many more people suddenly get involved. And so the wonderful thing that happens is you form a giant family of individuals that, you can rely on. And together you kind of, that multiplies your impact. The more people that you communicate with, it's like they're an extension of your work and who you get to be. So to continue help passing it on, what we're organizing right now is an artist exposition. So a bunch of local, really young artists are going to be able to show their work publicly, and to kind of start what I was trying to do with the Monarch project earlier, which is monetization and that community outreach that we talked about a lot. So you're passing on all the knowledge that you've learned to other people, and you're opening doors for others. So say you've worked really, really hard to get through all of these challenges, working with, public art people, working with the city, passing all of these hurdles. And so instead of closing that door and keeping all of that to yourself, no matter what, which direction you want to take all these lessons in, at the very end, it's really important to open up those doors for other people, and make sure that you can let them in, and pass on all the knowledge that you have learned, especially from a social justice perspective, because ultimately that's all about furthering community and building all of that. So I want to spend about 5 minutes. I just want to give you this time for you to kind of think about the resources that you have, the passions that you have, and the skills that you have, and think about where those might intersect. I think that these are the main components to really, addressing any kind of social justice issue, or building your own career professionally, as a high schooler, because you're in a point where you can expand all of these things. You might have a passion, and you can think about the vast amount of resources that are available to you, like I said. So you have your network of teachers, you have the school administration, there's all kinds of youth organizations that can fall into this resources section. And then with the skills, you are so young that you can kind of think about, okay, well, I have a passion, I have these resources, or I have, one of these components. What can I do to build the other ones and eventually lead me to a successful project? So I want to give you guys around 5 minutes to kind of think about these and maybe write them down, make a little Venn diagram like this, if that's okay with Jess.
Yeah, I just wanted to pop in and tell students this is a great time. Grab a piece of paper and a pencil. You can draw the circles just as Rima has them, and try to brainstorm what you can right now with, and then I'll let Rima take back over. But just a reminder, use your pen and paper. You don't need to have anything else beside that to do this activity.
Yeah, and then right afterwards, I'll take your questions. I'd love to actually hear what project ideas you have, if you're brave enough to share that with everyone. And actually, if any of you guys need support in any kind of shape or form, just reach out to me and I can try to, get you connected with those resources, because there are so many out there in Sonoma County. Okay, so we'll touch base at 12:24.
And I'm just popping back in here for a second to let everyone know I did post a couple things into the chat. Rima mentioned the Junior Commission on Human Rights, and I do know they're looking for students every year. I did post that into the chat in case you're interested in checking that out. I think their application is closed for this year, but if you're not a senior, you can look into doing that for next year. I'm going to repost that in case you joined us a little bit late. And then I did also just post a link to Rima's website where you can learn more about her project. Because one thing I think that you've done really well here, Rima, is point out that sometimes you have to get involved in other people's projects first to find your own passion and project. And so I know you've had a lot of mural projects going on this spring and have been looking for volunteers all spring so far. And so if you want to kind of check out more about that, I just want to mention that is in the chat. And she also has social media, and you could follow her there as well. Rima, if you want to post your social media into our chat, I didn't grab that. Wonderful. Thank you.
What were your biggest fears when launching your idea, and what helped you overcome your fear?
One of my biggest fears, but this is purely because, I was going into kind of a political world, was that people would either destroy my artwork or kind of just not accept it. So that was one. And, the way that I overcame that was just understanding that the risk of that Something going wrong is nowhere near the possible, the potential of the impact that, what I was doing could make. The other one was just the lack of community support and, not actually reaching people. So people were to, if they were to misinterpret my art or not connect with it, or just view it as like a pretty picture, and not really understand the impact that I was trying to make. But I realized that that's just, the case with any project that you ever do. And there is like a leap of faith that you have to take that, this is your vision and you're going to follow it. And you are going to hope for the best. And if something goes wrong, then, that's okay. And you can try again and learn from everything that, from the mistakes that you made in the past one. And I did that multiple times. Like I said, my first round of posters and pictures really didn't do much. They were just kind of hanging around my high school walls. I don't think anyone followed the phone numbers to call anyone. But that taught me a lot about what I could do in the next round. So don't be afraid to make any mistakes. And especially as a high schooler, like you have room to do that. And you have room to experiment. This is really a time where you should take advantage of the liberties that you have as a young person, and try everything that you possibly can. Yeah, I think that is the end of our time. Please let me know if there are any, suggestions or project ideas in the chat. I'd love to hear them.
We do have one. Oh, go ahead, Jordan. Sorry.
One person said, I have a project idea. I was thinking of doing a gardening project, especially in light of all the save the golf course stuff. The golf course is just a bunch of lawn that not a lot of people use, at least I don't think. It would be cool to rehabilitate it with wildflowers or plant native plants around the city to provide green spaces. Any thoughts?
That is absolutely wonderful. And what I really like about your idea is that, like, how specific it is to especially our area and kind of using the places and resources that we have. And I will say there are a lot of resources that you can tap into. So please email me and I will send all of those to you. There's all kinds of local organizations. And if you already are in touch with them, that's awesome. But I would say the other big takeaway is don't try to reinvent the wheel. There are people who I'm sure can give you so many resources and information about how to do something like that. And even if we don't turn all of our, golf courses into gardens, which I would 100% support, I'm sure your project could still be pretty effective in our area. So yes, please email me.
Another.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jess.
So we have another student question coming in. Coming as an immigrant from a different country, how was it really putting yourself into the community and how did your family feel? I come from a family of immigrants and I understand the worry of trying to connect with the community and worry of not feeling accepted.
That's a tough one. Definitely there's like multiple levels of kind of, I guess, imposter syndrome going into something like this. One, like I come from Armenia and not where a lot of the immigrants from Sonoma County come from. So there was like kind of two levels of acceptance. Would people actually think what I was doing was legit or not? But I think ultimately what I was lucky enough, what happened is that people judged me by the work that I was doing. And I think when you're good at what you're doing, people tend to put aside all those other preconceived notions. So typically, I know that's not always the case, but I think that's the strong, it helps a lot. So what I would say is just have like faith in yourself and trust yourself, and put your best out there. And if you can put good work out there, people are going to care and to notice. And for my family, I think they were pretty supportive, and that's one of the reasons why all of this could happen. They're one of the biggest support systems. So I think they were just glad that I could connect with a community that they really couldn't have. My parents, even now, aren't really well integrated into the world that I live in. So I think they were just glad that at least I could have made that bridge and form those connections. But it's definitely a whole other layer of challenges to be someone from a different place and trying to make change in a community that's not even originally yours.
So Rima, I have one last question before we end today that I was hoping you could speak to. You did such a wonderful job of showing students how they can kind of explore, try different things on, maybe find their own project or possibly partner with a project that aligns with what their goals and passions are. Can you speak a little bit about how you see this work that you have done in high school and are continuing to do? I know you're still a student now and you're a college student now, and you're continuing to do this project. How do you see this fitting in for your future career goals? How has it enabled you to maybe see your future career goals or helped you build skills that might be useful?
Okay, wonderful question. So this project has given me basically like a huge skill set that I can tap into now. It's taught me how to be resourceful. It's taught me to see what skills I have and how I can apply them. It's taught me how to reach out to people, which I think is the biggest takeaway when you go try to step into the professional career. And it's taught me how to act as a professional right now, how to interact with people in a way that they will take you seriously. And that's, I think, one of the, just having that kind of confidence and building a way to present yourself in the professional world is hugely, it's really, really important. And then could you remind me of the second part of your question?
How do you see, has this project helped you see what your career goals will be, or like how it might help you in the future moving forward?
Yes, absolutely. So doing something like this, you are already integrated into whatever, kind of a career area you're interested in. So for example, I know exactly how the public art world works now, and I can make that decision if I want to be a part of it now or not. It's also made me see how the local political world works, how social justice kind of manifests itself. And so I already know what all of that is like. So I won't be kind of facing any big surprises when I'm out of college with no experience and then just now stepping into the real world. So doing something like this gives you that real world experience. So now I know that I could professionally try to be an artist, but I would probably go hungry just because of how that typically works. So I know I need to have a backup plan. I know the activism world is great, but there's also a lot of issues on the local level and in every single organization. So I know I probably don't want to go into local politics. So even if it doesn't give you an exact career, which I haven't 100% chosen it, it's helped me avoid a lot of things that I know I would regret in the future. If I didn't do this, I might have been really impassioned to become a local politician, but now I know that I probably don't want to do that. So even if it helps you eliminate options as a young person, that is already going to give you a huge head start going into college.
Thank you so much. It sounds like it can both build skills, but also help you see, give experience so you can better refine what you want to work towards as well.
Absolutely.
Great.
And
well, thank you. Oh, go for it, Rima.
I just want to say one more kind of little point is, if you guys do plan to go into college, what this also gives you is it gives you a real world lens to apply to all of your classes, which might seem super abstract, but when you've done something in the real world, you can suddenly see how these, seemingly abstract topics are going to apply to what you're learning, and it's going to make that experience a lot better. But that's my final point.
Yes. Okay, well, thank you all for joining us today. Rima, thank you for being here and sharing your experience and expertise with our students. I hope many of them are inspired to go out and either join forces with an existing project or maybe explore a new project that they can get started. If any students need attendance credit, please see the link that was posted in the chat, and you can see Rima's contact information and social media presence is on the screen and also posted in the chat as well. I encourage you to go follow her. She is always posting wonderful photos of her projects, and they've done a couple recent mural projects in Sonoma County that have been really lovely. And I think one of them is opening up for viewing soon, right? Do you want to give a little plug for that?
Sure. Not this Friday, the following, we're going to have a big opening by, that Roseland kind of downtown area. by the Matode Food Park. So if you look that up, you'll find it. Also, if you follow the social media, you'll see all the information there. It'll have all kinds of art. You can meet a bunch of people. So if you are kind of interested in the art world, this is a great place to network. And also come and say hi to me. I'd love to kind of see your guys' faces. And also there's all kinds of new volunteer opportunities in the summer. That's when we really do all of this work. So you guys are welcome to come and help paint, even if you have no prior experience.
No prior experience needed. That's what we like to hear. Thank you so much. Thank you all for joining us. We do have 2 more events in the CareerFest left today. We have a panel and a workshop. It's not too late to get registered. Feel free to register at the same website you registered for this one, or you may have already received that link in your email. Thanks so much, everybody.